Hey guys, Josiah here. I'm going to teach you guys how to make Ghirardelli triple fudge brownies. These are my favorite. I prefer them over the Betty Crocker brand and the Great Value brand. You will typically find these slightly higher in price, but it's definitely worth it. I bought these actually at Winn-Dixie and they were a little bit higher. They were $2.88. At Walmart you can buy them for about $2.50. It was kind of in a pinch to get them. You can also buy them on Amazon.com if you really would like to. If you have Amazon Prime, 2-day shipping, no problem. I prefer to use this brand over, let's say, Betty Crocker or Great Value because it tends to not stick as bad for some reason in the bottom of the pan. It's also a lot more moist, it's more flavor, it's just overall a good brand. So it calls for a 1/4 cup of water, it calls for a 1/4 cup of oil, and I use a typical measuring spoon and measuring cup. Put those in there. You can use a typical rubber spatula. I use also a rice spatula. You can find for a rice cooker. It's a lot harder to use when you're bending around. Maybe for mixing, it's the best. It calls for 1 cracked egg, which I already cracked in here. So if you see here, I have the chocolate mix, the egg, the water, and the oil. Very simple. And then you just take your time, really viciously, and mix the mix. You want to make sure you get everything in there. You want to make sure all the powder is visibly gone. You have no grainy texture. A lot of times you'll feel like kind of like a crunch, almost like if you had bit a piece of sand. You really do not want to have that. So you mix it really well. Get it all up in there. It already has chocolate chips in here. If you like, you can add your own chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, macadamia nuts, whatever you like to do, you can add to it. But it just never hurts. Sometimes when I get like a DiGiorno pizza, I will add extra pepperonis or sometimes more cheese just because, they're always going to light you on it. I guess that's what you get for $5. So get it real good as you can see here while I'm mixing. You have a nice, real thick, almost like hot fudge. It's just not hot. It's actually cold, and it has that real thick texture to it. So about right now, you should see about all of the powder gone. It just takes a few minutes. You really don't need a blender or a mixer for this. You can really just do it by hand the hard way. A whisk can be helpful too, but to me, when you use a whisk, you lose a lot of the product getting stick between those, little wires. So just get a couple more times here and show you again. You want to just go around maybe the edges. Sometimes they get stuck. And if you feel like you got it just right, go ahead and take as much of that fudge off. You want to use your second spatula if you like. You get around the edges again, just one more time, just in case. That looks pretty good. So while this is doing this, it's actually best for you to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Typical conventional oven, everybody has one at home, hopefully. Maybe you have a gas. Mine's electrical. I believe also Jackson Electric turned electrical. Utilities. So here I have the chocolate chips I got. They are just typical Toll House brand. You can buy these at Walmart as well. This is a huge bag, maybe like $3, not a big deal. So you go ahead and just pour those in there. Get a little extra crunch. Everybody likes that. They want to make sure you have every bite of brownie you're getting is a chocolate chip. Sometimes you might actually get a bite that has more than a couple chocolate chips and it's over chocolatey, which I like that. Some people don't. So one thing about Ghirardelli is they also offer a fudge pack, which is just chocolate in a fudge bag, which I already pre-cut for the demonstration, and you just squeeze it out. Best way to describe how you squeeze it out is kind of like a toothpaste container. You kind of get as much as you can, and then towards the very end you start rolling it up. Make sure you get everything in here. Just to advise you, it is going to be a messy job. Cooking really is never not messy, but this is definitely not a messy job. So here again, now I have the fudge in here. It's kind of thick, so you kind of want to spread it out kind of against the wall. That's the best way I feel like you can get the best out of that mixture. You want to have it all stuck in one spot, which technically sometimes will happen if you see on the spatula, it has a little bit of that fudge kind of stuck to there. So the best thing to do for that is get your other one, which is my rice spatula actually, and you kind of just scrape it off, take turns, start using this one, kind of mix it in again, because how I was saying it's a little more sturdier, it's like hard plastic rather than the rubber. Kind of get it in there. And once you feel like you got it just about right, looks pretty much the same, all you just added was some chocolate chips and some fudge, no big deal. So now, wipe your hands off if you need to. You don't want to be all sticky all over your oven mitts, things like that. So your conventional oven will now take about 10 minutes or so to preheat. Not a big deal. I mean, everybody has an oven, so they should know how long it takes to preheat. I've already actually preheated mine. It's already ready to go. The Ghirardelli box requires a 8x8 glass or 9x9 metal. I'm actually going to be using a 12x10 glass, and I do this to kind of spreads it out. You could actually get a thinner brownie. It's almost like an extra large cookie, if you were to think. So you take that mix, you get it ready. Before you do so, you get like a paper towel and some vegetable oil. I prefer vegetable oil over butter just because it's really easy. You can put a towel on here, pour it, smear it around, and that's what I've already done here. As you can see, I've actually smeared a good thin layer. You don't want to be too thick because it'll overcook the brownie. Real thin layer of grease to get it nice and going, so when you're done cooking, it will be magical. So now you're ready to pour the brownie into the glass container, and I kind of start from the back and I push down, and I kind of start in the middle. A lot of people spread it evenly around. That is a really good time to do it, but because this is so thick, I'm going to put it in one area and then spread it myself, which I'm using the harder plastic spatula. Get a nicer, even texture around the whole pan, which is what you want. Now you have all this remnants, fudge or brownie mix, if you will. I use the other soft rubber spatula, which is what you want to do now, is because you can go around it and it'll bend on the bottom of the bowl, which is exactly what you want to do, to get all of the mixture. You see how that's all scraping off? That's exactly what you want to do. At this point, Guy Fieri, one of his talk shows, will probably start licking the brownies mixture, which is, everybody loves to do, but this has raw eggs in it, and I severely suggest against it because of salmonella poisoning. You want to get out of work for a couple days doing that. Not a good idea. As a kid, I used to do it all the time. Never got sick, but in the case of this demonstration, I will not teach you the wrong ways. So now I see here, the bowl is getting pretty much all you can possibly get out of that. That's probably going to be my last scrape out of there. And you kind of just use the other spatula to kind of scrape it down. And then once you feel like you got it all right, you kind of just do one more spread along the bowl. Around the pan. And as you can see here, it's evenly spreaded, not very thick. It's just perfect. Voila. So now that your oven's ready to go, it's going to take 40 minutes. You can start the timer now. You can start it after you put it in the pan. It's no big deal. I do it right afterwards. So I just get my pan, place it here. And you want to place the brownie pan about middle of the tray. I'll bring it over here actually so you can see. Oh, it's telling me it's preheated again. As you can see there, it's in the middle of the oven tray, and it's going to get hopefully a thorough heating element to cook it. So now you go ahead and, all ovens are different. Mine has a bake time, and I change it to 40 minutes. It's just a digital clock. And I'm doing 40 minutes because that is what the box requires. Now that's not what you have to do. It does say 40 to 44 minutes, but as with brownies, you actually have to take them out a little bit earlier. So that's why I'm doing 40 instead of 44, so I can test it. Okay? Now, I've actually pre-cooked a brownie container so you can see what it looks like after it's done, so you're not waiting 40 minutes for me to do this. So let me grab this real quick for you. So as you can see here, this is going to be your end result. This is a 8x8 round pan. It's a little bit thicker brownie, as you can see here, compared to the the rectangle pan. But that is okay. I mean, everybody likes it however they want. This style, you'll get more of like a pizza slice kind of deal, unless you want to do it in squares, which would kind of be odd. You get weird crust sizes. So while it's cooking and you feel like it's not all the way ready, the best thing is you can take it out and you get a knife, butter knife, steak knife, whatever you want to use, a toothpick a lot of people use, and you just take your knife and you poke straight down and poke back up. And you see how that is just barely anything coming off of that? That's exactly what you want. You don't want a lot of that fudge, that brownie mix sticking to the knife. And if you feel like you haven't cooked it all the way right, even though that one was look good, you can do a couple tries. See, that one is just a little bit undercooked in that area. Kind of scrape that off so you make sure you get a fresh stick. Do it again there. That's not too bad, you know. That's about exactly what you want. Now this has been cooling for about 10 minutes, so it should be at its right time to actually take this out. 10 to 15 minutes is actually my preferred time of the coolness done time before I start eating it. If you do it right away, if you notice with pie, it will start getting sloshed everywhere. The goo hasn't settled, it's real hot. That's the same thing that's going to happen with the brownie. Those areas that aren't all the way cooked yet compared to the ones that are now are just going to get everywhere. It's going to be a huge mess. So you can use again your, what I have here is just a regular knife, you know, butter knife. No big deal. And you get yourself a spatula. And I'm going to teach you actually the pie cutting version. Which you take your pan and you just start on one side, go across, get a nice even cut, then you do that again. It's like a, I guess you can call this the clock. You're doing, you know, 12 to 6 and then 9 to 3, no big deal, right? And then you get your 2 o'clock and you're going all the way down to your 7, and then you get your 10 o'clock, going all the way down to your 5. See, now you got your pie style, and this is a little uneven, but that's okay. Some people get a bigger bite than others. And then you can just, well, I'll take some bite of that. Oh man, that was delicious. So, to show how I was explaining why I prefer Ghirardelli brownies over the regular kind, I actually use my knife since this is a round pan. You cut around the crust, which is going to be hard, of course. Everybody's crust is going to be like that. Kind of get it ready to go. Now you just scoop underneath. Now you have a pie spatula, that's perfect. And you see that? Oop, it's falling apart, it's so moist. See that how it's not really sticking to the pan, it's just right? That's exactly what you want to do. You don't want it to be real rock hard. You know, sometimes when you make chocolate chip cookies, it just sticks to the pan. You have to actually use the spatula to get the cookie off. That's what you don't want. You want this. Well, I'm just going to grab a little piece here. It's hot, it's moist, it's delicious. You can use a glass of milk, warm milk, cold milk, however you want it, chocolate milk, coffee, have a little nice dinner dessert, whatever you want, it'd be perfect. Now, if there's anything else I could tell you guys, is just use, you know, as a memorable quote, use the Ghirardelli brownie mix, spend that, you know, 30 cents more, get a better quality, you know, you're going to have a better time with your guests as they're eating the brownies, you're going to have a better time eating it. I know I'm going to have a better time eating it. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.